Spark of a moment.
Right.
Angel Reese is not Angel Reese from a player-only perspective. From a player-only perspective, is not that unique. There are better players than Angel Reese. There have been more dynamic players than Angel Reese. There are better players in the WNBA now than Angel.
Angel Reese has quickly become one of the WNBA's most controversial figures. If you're a fan, you know how any news about her stirs debate. Now, there's an even bigger story. Her future with the Chicago Sky is uncertain after a major team shakeup. At just 22, Reese has made a strong impact. In her rookie season, she led the league in rebounds, averaging over 13 points and 13 boards per game. She was a top contender for Rookie of the Year, but a wrist injury sidelined her before the final rounds.
Unfortunate announcement out of Chicago. Angel Reese's rookie season is over. She took to social media to announce that, unfortunately, she suffered a season-ending injury. What a year. I would have never imagined the last bucket of my rookie season would be a 3, but maybe that was God saying, give them a taste of what they will be seeing more of in year 2. Now, following this announcement, Chicago would later release a statement that said the injury was in fact her wrist and it occurred in their September 6th game versus Los Angeles. So obviously unfortunate news. Monica, what comes to mind for you when you hear this about Angel Reese?
First thing, you wish her a speedy and healthy recovery. The rest of that announcement that she put out, she did say she hopes to be available and play in Unrivaled this coming WNBA offseason. But beyond that, I start thinking about that 8th spot that Chicago Sky and head coach Reese Weatherspoon are fighting with.
Despite the setback, Angel Reese's transition to Chicago has been anything but quiet. Off the court, the 22-year-old has embraced the city's rich culture, turning her apartment into a luxurious retreat while immersing herself in the Windy City lifestyle. But it's not all about the glam. She's also making waves with her podcast, Unapologetically Angel, which she launched before her rookie season even ended.
Angel Reese, who's had a good year, by the way. Quick hitter number 3 goes to Chicago Sky rookie forward Angel Reese, who has a new weekly podcast called Unapologetically Angel. It's part of Playmakers Network of podcasts from Shaquille O'Neal. On the debut episode, co-host Maya Reese, who is Angel's cousin, asked her to address her feelings about rival Indiana Fever's Caitlin Clark and the Fever's fan base. Take a look at what Angel Reese had to say about that. Quote, Caitlin Clark fans, the Iowa fans, now the Indiana fans, I think there's a lot of racism when it comes to it, and I don't believe she stands on any of that. But when it comes to death threats, like, I'm talking about people who have come down to my address, following me home. Multiple occasions, people have made AI pictures of me naked, literally. They've sent it to my family members. It sucks to see that, and it's really hard that I have to go through that. End quote. If Angel Reese was older, I would have gotten on her about what she just said. Because I would have been like, how naive can you be?
From the start, Unapologetically Angel has been raw and unfiltered. In her debut episode, Reese opened up about receiving death threats from Caitlin Clark's fans after their heated college rivalry. She also revealed that AI-generated fake images had been sent to her family, adding to the controversy. Reese isn't one to shy away from speaking her mind, whether on the court or behind the mic. But as her podcast gains traction, so does the scrutiny. The real question is, can she balance her basketball career with her bold media persona? For now, one thing is clear. Angel Reese is doing things her way, unapologetically.
You had a decisive advantage because they made the mistake of letting you know who they are, whoever those people are. And now you have perfect justification for keeping people at bay and not letting people too close where they could potentially hurt you. It's something most people usually learn when they get older. You learned it younger, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. You're at an advantage. As for the Caitlin Clark fans she was alluding to, she ain't lying. It's not all, it's not most. A lot of them are fun-loving. A lot of them are great fans. A lot of them are great, great people. But some of them are racist. Some of them don't want Angel Reese to be the one coming at her, and they use ethnicity as the rationale behind it. Again, very few.
After a strong rookie season with the Chicago Sky, former LSU star Angel Reese had a message for her critics. In an Instagram post on October 14, she made it clear she wasn't bothered by the backlash, boldly stating she'd keep making money regardless of the noise. While some fans rallied behind her confidence, others weren't as impressed. Critics accused her of lacking integrity, with some even calling her one of the most unlickable athletes in the game.
Right, when Caitlin did it, she was playing against Louisville, was 3 games ago, mind you. She's going to her side, she does it for like 3 seconds and goes to her bench, right? Prince, you watched the Angel.
Yep.
She's like chasing her down. If you can watch the video, because I'm a trash talker. I love to talk trash.
You do be talking trash.
At the free throw line, she's doing it, trying to get her attention. Then when they win, or they're about to win, she's like chasing her down and kept going back and forth. So I just felt like she was trying to gain like some attention, not from just the world, but maybe from her. And I think as a trash talker, who I've been my whole life, I go back to, why do people talk trash? One, because, hey, I'm just a dog, I'm a competitor, right? And you're a top player, which Caitlin's probably the top player, Angel's probably second. And either one is, I'm a trash talker with competitive nature, and the other part is disrespect. Disrespect is then, yo, everywhere I turn, they talking about Caitlin Clark. What about LSU? We nice, I'm this, I'm that. Because Angel, she won player of the tournament, right? So as a player, I feel like, hold up, you disrespecting me, you keep talking about her, you need to talk about me. So then when she got the chance and they beat her and she's kept, saying I don't see you and all that, I think that was part of, I've been disrespected this whole tournament, you're not giving me the love. So I love that part of it. I just don't like how, people are trying to carry it. Like, she came towards Caitlin compared to Caitlin when she was just quick.
Despite the backlash, Reese remains unfazed, fully embracing her role as a polarizing figure in the WNBA. She knows the attention her persona attracts, and there's no denying she's one of the league's most talked about players. Maybe that was the plan all along.
What Caitlin is doing, captivating the crowds, this is something that's going to go on for a long time between these two. 25 and 15, 16 rebounds. What was it? 15, 16 rebounds from a rookie, 8 straight double-doubles. If she continues at this pace, I'm not saying she's going to continue to put up the scoring, but I could really see a situation to where it could be up for grabs for Rookie of the Year or even a co-Rookie of the Year, because don't take nothing short of what Caitlin's doing with her passing. I mean, she probably should have had 20 assists last night. I mean, some of those drop passes she was throwing, so I love what I'm seeing. I'm captivated. I wish these two could have been on the USA team, but we'll get to that.
All right.
I mean, I was very impressed with the game last night, especially with the sky being down, coming all the way back, pulling out the...
Beyond the social media drama, Reese's rivalry with fellow rookie star Caitlin Clark has been just as intense. Their competitive clash began in college, with Reese famously taunting Clark after LSU's championship win over Iowa. Fast forward to their first WNBA season, and the rivalry hasn't cooled. With Reese's Chicago Sky and Clark's Indiana Fever facing off on the court, and in the heated Rookie of the Year race, their battle is far from over.
It's a rivalry. I want to agree with you so badly, Mom. I don't think it's a rivalry because to me,
you think they really like each other?
I don't think they downplayed it. I don't think they care as much about it, to be honest, as everybody else does. Like, I think Caitlin's fans care more about it, and I think Angel's fans care more about it than they actually do themselves. Like, if you really want a rivalry in terms of basketball and two players at the top of their game that have won MVPs and have won championships, and you're tuning in for that animosity in terms of competing on the court, it's A'ja Wilson and Breanna Stewart. That's the best rivalry in sports right now. There's not one in any other sport.
The layman's W fan is tuning in for that.
Tuning in for Caitlin and that's why we're trying to get...
I get late to the party. Right. I get it, but you get what I'm saying.
But if you're tuning in for the rivalry, you're tuning in for Caitlin and Angel in terms of a rivalry of personalities. And that's what you're tuning in.
The rivalry of personalities.
It's a rivalry of personalities.
That's where I was going to my... The rivalry of personalities. We're talking basketball.
It's not a rivalry of performance.
A basketball, a rivalry of performance, no, that's not the case here. Yep. That's not the case at all. It's a rivalry of personalities. Yep. Because Angel Reese made it so when she went at Caitlin Clark. LSU, we a little bit different. You could try that nonsense with everybody else. Try it this way, how I feel now. And she rubbed it in her face and ticked off half of America, for crying out loud, which I loved because that's what it's about. But again, for example, if you looked at Isaiah Thomas and a Michael Jordan, even though Michael Jordan was a two guard and Isaiah Thomas was a point guard, they had the ball in their hands. That's entirely. When you think about Kareem, you're thinking about Ewing and Olajuwon and people like that. Yeah. You're not thinking about or Will Chamberlain, obviously. You're not thinking about comparing a center to a guard.
I don't know, but to me, it's like I don't know if they like.
That's not how it is.
I don't know if they actually like each other. But the thing that's funny for me is even when we talk about a rivalry of personalities, there's similarities between them. They're both going to talk trash. They're both going to be animated when they do something great. They're both competitive. They're both so it's pick a side in terms of which personality.
Clark tied in the WNBA, leading the league.
In the end, Clark claimed the Rookie of the Year title. Some have argued that Reese should take a page from Clark's playbook when it comes to her off-court persona. While Clark has maintained a reserved and traditional public image, Reese's outspoken and sometimes controversial style has fueled comparisons between the two. Critics urge Reese to tone down her antics and follow her rival's lead, but many see this rivalry as more about personality than basketball itself.
Those decisions made where you kind of have to step back and immediately start asking bigger picture questions about a front office. I think there's a lot of reasons that you can understand this decision in an absolute vacuum, like if you just look at one day in the life of a team. But when you look at the decision making over the last year, hiring a GM after Weatherspoon, giving her less than a year in the position, the Kalia Copper trade, the Marina Mabry trade, there's just so many pieces that don't really add up to this being a functional year where you could really determine if a coach is ready to be a WNBA head coach or not.
Yeah, as someone who covers the Washington football franchise in my day job, I know bad ownership. And there have been a lot of people that have asked out of Chicago, including, by the way, one of the most recent, I can't remember whether, I guess there had to be an interim between James Wade and T. Spoon, but like he wanted out. He left in the middle of a season. You don't do that as a coach. That's not a thing. And it certainly seems like that's the one constant here. Is it an ownership problem on down in terms of the vision? Is it the new front office? Like, how do you ascribe some of those bigger picture problems here?
Yeah, I think the Wade decision was definitely wholly separate. I think that's kind of an easier one to compartmentalize into one person making a decision for themselves. The interim coach was not asked back. So, those are kind of two very separate head coaching determinations that occurred there. I think the main issue here is that you still have an ownership group deeply in flux. We've seen this ownership group make some really big strides forward, the training complex being the main part of that. But when you look at the actual front office decisions that are being made in terms of how this team is being run, I just still do not think that ownership really understands what they want this team to look like. And that's a huge concern. I think there's a lot of reasons that other departures have happened, but just the baseline of not having still a team tactical identity is just like, you just can't attract players and keep players that way.
Whether this rivalry continues next season remains uncertain, as reports suggest Angel Reese may not be happy in Chicago. Midway through the season, the Sky made headlines by parting ways with head coach Teresa Weatherspoon after just 1 year. The decision surprised many fans, given the strong bond Weatherspoon had built with her players, despite a disappointing 13-27 record that kept the Sky out of the playoffs. Some argue that letting her go was a premature move.
This was a coach who was learning on the fly, and every player that we heard from Friday said that in some way or another. If they're a big Spoon defender, they were like, it's a big learning curve. We know she learned with us a lot this year, but she got there. For the folks that were veterans, especially for the older players, there was visible concern about the fact that she just did not fully have a grasp on how to do things up until the Olympic break. Like they were installing a completely different offensive scheme over the Olympic break. So it really is about the tactics. And I think if this front office and the new general manager, Jeff Pagliocca, if he looked at the end of the season, sat down and was like, we need a coach who is experienced, who has the preparation, because that's how you get free agents. That's who a vet free agent wants to play for. If those are all the things that they decided they needed in a coach, that's totally fair, but don't hire her. That's the whole thing. Don't hire her a year ago if that's who you wanted out of a coach. I think it's totally fair for them to want that experience, but that's not who they hired a year ago, and I don't know why they would have expected her to become that now.
For the Sky, the decision was simple: results matter. The team aims to be a playoff contender every year, and after a disappointing season, they felt it was time for a change. Now, the franchise is focused on finding a coach who can take them to the next level.